Hey friends, my name is Megan. You may also know me as the Barefoot Gardener on social media. I'm standing here in the beautiful, lush greenhouse space of Logan's Garden Shop right here in downtown Raleigh. If you've never created a terrarium before, I invite you to this terrarium demonstration. Let's go over a few things first before we get started, all right? So we're going to talk about our vessel. Now, for this demonstration, I'm going to be using an open terrarium, and all that means is there's a permanent opening within the vessel, all right? Versus maybe a closed terrarium, which is going to stay closed on all parameters all the time, or most of the time. So also too, when you're selecting your own vessel, it's best to do clear glass. The reason, or clearer glass, the reason because you're going to be putting live plant matter in your terrarium. Plants need to be able to photosynthesize, right? They need to be able to receive that sunlight. So the perfect little terrarium that you're going to be creating is best to use clear glass, or even clear plastic would suffice. Now, glass comes in a plethora of shapes and sizes, which is good news because the sky's the limit, and it's your opportunity to get creative and create that little world of however you please, however you want. Also too, when we're thinking of vessels, it needs to be functional, it needs to be practical, and we want it to be aesthetically pleasing for our space, right? So you can pick your vessel first and then find plants to fill your vessel, or the latter. You can pick plants that you love first and then find an environment for your plants to thrive in, okay? Now let's talk plants. I know we want them all, at least I know that I do. So the two that I've selected for our terrarium demonstration today is the plumosa fern, and ferns love humidity. So I picked a plumosa fern. Also too, this is probably my favorite pilea. This is the Pilea glauca, or baby tears. It has a really, really sweet blue-hued metallic colored leaves on the anterior side of the leaves, and just a subtle burgundy stems. And you can find these in a hanging basket. They love to hang. Also too, you can notice already that it's starting to vine, and I chose the Pilea glauca because they love to climb, so they're really going to encompass that surface area of the terrarium. So it's really going to, I think, be a cool, beautiful landscape for my terrarium that I'm kind of envisioning. Speaking of plants too, you want to select plants that are going to be happy in the same environment, right? So we're thinking light needs, media or soil needs, and watering needs. For example, we would not want to plant a cactus with a carnivorous plant, right? They have totally different opposing plant needs. They wouldn't survive and thrive together. Even though they look cute, they wouldn't marry together in one space. Speaking of carnivorous plants, I want you to get creative, like I said, in your own terrarium building process. So, plants to pick. Cacti, succulents for one environment. I'm going to go with my plumosa fern and my pilea here. Also too, what's the plant that we have here in our wetlands, right here in North Carolina? Did you guess it? Ding, ding, ding. Carnivorous plants. We've got pitcher plants, fly traps. Use that to, use those elements to create your own terrarium. And speaking of, here's one we built already with the Venus flytrap. So notice how I want this to be my focal point in this little terrarium. I want that little baby to shine and thrive and enjoy all of that humidity. Look at the little cute bloom that's coming. It's so cute. All right, so are we feeling comfortable and confident? All right, so again, once you select the plants that would work well together in same environment, there's no wrong way to create your terrarium. It's your space, it's your little world. You have to do what's going to be best for you, your plants, and your environment. All right, so we've covered our vessel, our plants. I want you to think of nature's elements. So we've got some sticks as accessories, some bark, seashells, some moss, again, the sky's the limit with your vessel, with your accessories, with the plants. Have fun with it. Okay, so next we're going to be talking about our foundation. And what I mean by foundation is, the foundation is going to be the bottom of the terrarium. You want it to be functional and practical. Again, you're going to be able to see the foundation that you create, so it should be cute too, right? All right, so foundation, I like to use just your normal basic houseplant potting mix. It's going to be great for drainage. That's what we want, because your terrarium, if it's functional, it's going to be able to hold water. So we want a good drainage potting media, and also too, the like the hydro stones here, those are going to be great for water drainage and for creating pockets for oxygen, so that our roots, the root systems of the plants, will be able to absorb some oxygen as needed. So we've got our media, we've got hydro stones that I mentioned already. I really like these because they look like pebbles, but personally I think they're a little more functional than that for what I'm going to be using here. And also too, I think it's going to be a great additive for the foundation, because it's going to give us a little extra height, and I really like the layers of that Mother Nature has for us in our own grounds that we walk on. So I'm going to implement that. Also too, I've got some bonsai soil mix, which is an also great component. It's going to help give that dimension in the media that I'm looking for. It's also going to be functional because it's going to help with the water and oxygen distribution, and it's going to be happy for my plants too. The other option is sphagnum moss. Now for the plants that I'm using, the plant's roots necessarily don't need it, so I might just use it as a top dressing or an accessory piece when I'm trying to finish off the look. So we might come back to this. This is the little kit that I grabbed that contained the vessel and all of the media we're going to be working with, so it was really the perfect one-stop shop, grab and go. So I'm telling you, the hardest part is going to be picking out your vessel and picking out what plants you want to use. Okay, so now the fun part. You ready? So let's get started. I like to be nice and intimate with my plants here. So we are going to use the hydro stones for my foundation. All right, I think that looks good. For this piece, I don't want it too high because my plants need room to really enjoy this humidity dome that I'm going to be creating in the environment. So I think that looks good. And I'm kind of fanning out the hydro stones so that I'm creating like a nice little gully or a valley for my plants to sit in, because I want them to be able to enjoy the soil that I've prepared. All right, so let's get an idea of how we're going to pot up the plants. So I'm thinking I definitely want my plumosa fern to be the main focal point. So let's see, so I'm thinking maybe off center could be cool. I really like the height that it's giving and how it's branching out, so it's going to be able to fill in a little bit of the surface area. And paired with that, yep, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so got my hydro stones. We'll put in a little bit of media. All right. So before you plant anything, P.S. talking about your vessel, you want to make sure you start with a clean vessel. Just normal soap and water is fine. Anything that's going to go into this environment that you're creating, you want everything to be nice and clean and off to a good healthy start. So with your plants, I'm inspecting the petioles, the stems, the leaves. Make sure there's no pests. These look great. Also too, you're checking out the root system. Make sure that they're not rotted or anything like that. These look perfect, nice and healthy. So we're going to use these. And I'm also gently kneading or massaging the root system so that I'm able to manipulate it how I want to in my environment. So I want this fern to sit a little lower. Cool. So I think about there is good. Now we've got some root systems exposed, so we want to ensure that we cover those up. Right? Roots appreciate receiving water and oxygen. They like to be tucked in. Don't worry about the mess. We'll clean that up later. Perfect. So we've got our plumosa fern where we want it, making sure it's nice and straight. Looks good. So now I'm going to add in my pilea. Also too, when you're planting up your plants here, you're feeling the moisture of the media, and you want to ensure that it's not too wet or too dry. You're also measuring how much water you're going to water your plants in after this process. So now I'm just figuring out where I want this to trail. That tucked in. All right, now all that I'm doing here is the vines got a little bit tangled, so I'm gently untangling the vines, and I'll be wrapping it around the fern here. Again, so it can really enjoy its full potential in this space. We'll add in some more media. Again, we want to ensure that all the roots are nice and tucked in. Some handy tools could be like a vertical bamboo stick or a chopstick. Paintbrush here. The end of it is just going to help me gently tuck in and pack. I say that word lightly, pack. Packing the media in and around the plant and around the terrarium. Spoon also to get in those little nooks and crannies. Cool. We're almost there. So the soil line that you've created for your plants should be fairly level with your plants in conjunction with the new soil line that you've just created. You don't want anything to be sitting, for this one, you don't want anything to be sitting too low or too high, so that we have fairly even water distribution when we do water it in. Alrighty. Okay, so now I'm going to take the other end of my paintbrush here and just wipe off all of the media in those nooks and crannies, get it cleaned up a little bit. Okay. She is looking good. All right, you guys seeing the vision? Cute, huh? There's a little bit of opportunity, I'm thinking, right there. So let's check out our accessories here. We could do a little piece of wood here. That looks cool. Not what I'm thinking. Let's try this. So this is a rock. Let's see. Let's see what that looks like. There really is joy and simplicity and just seeing what goes where. That was it. So I really love how this rectangular rock gives a nice contrast to the plumosa fern and the pilea. It's a nice structure and a really nice additive, a nice complementary additive to the fern and the plumosa. Yes. Okay, cool. So I think she's done. Again, for this terrarium, it'll continue to grow and fill in, so you don't want to overpack your terrariums. Also, too, speaking of plants, I forgot to mention, or maybe I did mention it, but I'll say it again. You want to, when you're picking out plants, you want to make sure that they're dwarf sized or that they're slow growers, because you really want those plants that you're planting in your terrarium to enjoy the space you just created for them. So Logan's has a lot of great options for terrarium plants that are in 2-inch, 4-inch pots. The plumosa fern came in a 6-inch pot, I think, but I was able to divide it, and it's going to work perfectly for this space here. Okay, so I think we're done here. Now we're going to water it in. Let's go over a few things about watering. Again, there's no drainage, so we want to have what I'm going to call a controlled watering. Don't be so heavy-handed with just filling it up, because then your plants could potentially drown, right? Could get disease, could get root rot, could create an environment for fungus gnats. We don't want any of that, right? So a couple ideas is a watering can. I really love this one because it has, it's almost like a shower head nozzle, so it's going to very gently water in my terrarium. Another idea, turkey baster, fill it up with water. Again, you're able to control the amount of water. Also too, another trick with this, so notice when we were building our terrarium how there's just a little excess residue of plant matter and media. Here's a trick. We filled up our turkey baster with water, and I'm very gently going to go around the perimeter of the side, and it's going to clean the terrarium for us and also water it in. Do that a little bit more, and also too, because you've selected a clear vessel or fairly clear vessel, you're able to see what's happening here with water needs and your soil too. Another trick maybe for this little cutie, yeah, a syringe. You can reuse a syringe that you may have in the junk drawer already at home or at your local pharmacy. They're usually like $1 or so. You'll just obviously fill it up with water, and then again you're able to control your watering, and then you're able to water as needed. So I noticed that when I was planting the plants in this terrarium, in this vessel, the media was just a little bit dry, so I'm not gonna water it too much, because I want to be able to I want everything to be able to settle in, okay? Because I can always add more. You can never take out. I mean, I guess you could take out, but it would get a little messy. Cool. Alrighty. She's cute. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. We hope you feel inspired, and may this serve as a catalyst for you to create your own terrarium, and we can't wait to see what you create. Be well, friends.